What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a cold but sunny day in Missouri. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today we are working on the Tahoe. Obviously, we got some dings and dents, but I scored some parts, and I'm pretty excited about it because, and I'll talk about why and what we're doing and whatnot, but we have to replace the door. I talked to my painter, and if you look at this door, it's dented on the inside, and he thought he could probably fix that. Obviously, we're gonna have to do something there, but he thought he might be able to fix the door, but the dent actually goes all the way down, and so he thought it'd be better if I just found a door. Well, the good thing is these things are like a dime a dozen, so they're pretty easy to find doors for. So I was searching on Facebook Marketplace, found a door, and while I was out there, I scored a couple other things, because other than the door, this thing needed door pins anyway. So obviously, to take this off, we're gonna have to knock those door pins out, and we're gonna replace them with some new ones, and the bushing as well. And anyway, so that's that. And then on the back door, I was noticing when I was cleaning out all the jams, you guys saw that video, or hopefully you did. Check out the door here on the bottom. I'm not really sure what happened here, but this is all broken too, and it pushed out on the bottom side. Now, that's probably a pretty easy fix, but it would require it being re-sprayed on the jams. And I thought, well, there's a little bit of rust on the bottom of this door. So this same car that I found the door off of was a barn door car as well. So I also got a door. So we have both of them sitting right there, and the door's in awesome shape. No dings or dents. Obviously, we have to take some trim and stuff off, and we're gonna have to swap our handles out because of the key locks. And I got the whole door panel, the back door. I also popped the hood of this thing, and it had a cold air intake, which normally, like, I wasn't going to spend any money on performance of this thing, but I asked the guy to throw it in, what it would cost for all these parts, and then I had some random interior parts that I needed, like a switch on the other side. I got a new one of these, I think. A couple little random trim pieces that I needed. $100, guys. He gave me all this stuff for $100, and you just can't beat that deal. That's unbeatable. Just that by itself is probably $300 or $400, and also got a mass airflow sensor, which I don't need. But we're gonna take the door off today, and that's the goal. Now, I will say I helped my dad replace door pins in one of those style trucks, and these doors are ridiculously heavy. I mean, it's off the charts heavy. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get my cherry picker up here, and we're going to use it to hold this while we're taking not only this door off, but while we're putting the new door on as well. But the very first thing we have to do is, on the old door is really easy to disassemble, because I literally just pulled that loose and cut the wire. So on the new door, obviously I don't want to do that. So we're going to have to take the door panel off, and we're going to have to fish all of the electronics out of the door, because, well, I don't want to resolder all those connections, and they're cut on the other one. I wasn't going to fish all the wiring out of the dash. So let's get that started. I think I'm going to set you guys up on a tripod. We'll get the door panel off, and then we'll kind of go from there. Once we get the door panel off, we should be able to get to some of the electronics, unplug everything, and then, like I said, obviously we're going to have to swap out the door handle as well, just because of the lock cylinder. So not a huge deal, but like I said, I already needed pins anyway. So this is like a basically two birds, one stone type deal. And I still, guys, I know you saw me start on the interior cleaning. I'm still waiting on my extractor to finish that. Hopefully that comes in very soon. I know Amazon's been backed up with all this coronavirus deal as far as shipping goes. That's where I ordered it from. So once we get that back, we'll go over the carpet again. It does look pretty clean, though. It didn't do too bad. I think it will come way cleaner, though. But anyway, let's get you guys set up on a tripod and get started on this door removal. So we're going to start with some plastic pry tools and get some of these panels out of the way. These are probably the stickiest door pins as far as pulling them out I've ever seen. Once we do that, I'm going to go ahead, there's two Phillips screws here. I'm going to go ahead and take those out, and then we'll start to pop the door out all the way around. I'm not really sure. I don't know that it's been a while since I've taken one of these apart, so I'm not 100% sure where it's all hooked. I think you can pull this out beforehand. If not, then I might do that afterwards. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go grab my Phillips. We'll take those out and then we'll go around the door panel, see if we can get it out of the way. So I got those 2 screws out and I did go ahead and pop this up. You're able to get it out and then pull it back. So we need to unplug all these things. I think I might have to go grab a couple things to get this unplugged. I'm not sure I can do it. I have to go get a couple, like a flathead screwdriver, a small flathead screwdriver to push in here. But then, it seems pretty loose. There may be another one behind this that I haven't gotten to. As a matter of fact, let's just see. Yeah, I don't know about that. All these panels are really brittle because this thing's old. So we're going to take these off first, and then we'll I'm going to go ahead and pop the panel loose and see what exactly is behind here. Like I said, it's been a while since I've taken one of these off. I know I've done it, but it's probably been several years. So after getting the switches out, I did go ahead and release the door panel, and it's been off before. There's a couple cracked pieces, but now we need to get this off. And there's a spot right underneath the handle, there's a spot right here, and then there's a spot up above here that we kind of need to pry back. And there's just really no good way to do it other than like a long screwdriver. I'm hoping I don't really want to break it. So this last little piece right here is what was giving me problems, and I was trying to pry the opposite direction. It actually, see if you guys can see that, comes in from the other way. I needed to push the other way, but nothing broke, which is good. So now we should have this thing loose. Let's see if we can get it out of the way. Now normally you'd have a light here hooked up, but like I said, this has been off before and somebody broke that. Also, there's a couple broken pins down here. I think what I'll do is I'll glue those back while it's setting. You can see somebody's put some door speakers in here, but now we should be able to get this out of the way, and it needs replaced too. I might buy a new one of those. See if we can unclip this thing and start threading our wire through. I don't know, I may have to take all these little 7mm out to get access to what I need. Not really sure yet. So to get this handle out, it just sets in a channel. It kind of slides in here, and then we need to unhook the piece that goes to the door and the lock. They should just push out. They've been in there for a long time though. I'm gonna have to go get some pliers to push those things out. I don't know if you guys can see this down at the bottom. That's for the lock, and then there's one obviously for the handle. So I went ahead and got the handle out. Now I'm just gonna pull this off the truck and see if we can get access to all the electronics. I don't know that I need to pull all of it off necessarily. Have to remember we're not going to be using this door, so it looks like we have one that goes to the lock actuator here. We're going to have to reach back in there and unplug. I don't know if it may be easier, I don't think it is, to take this off. I think we can just go ahead and start unplugging some of our wires here, getting them ready to go through the door. And then we'll thread them all out. So guys, I did go ahead and take some of these pins loose. I didn't take the bottom ones loose, but the 7mm around the outside I took loose because I couldn't reach the plug for the power door locks. And honestly, it's pretty simple. If you could reach it, you push the top of this and it comes undone just by pulling it out. Now, I also had the same issue with the power window motor, but what I'm thinking is, instead of trying to sneak all this out, because the factory heats this up and then puts it in place, and once it's in place it kind of conforms to the car. So instead of trying to fish all this out and bending it all up, I'm going to wait until I drive the door pins out, and then what we'll do is we'll pull the door back and kind of thread it out, and we'll do just the opposite when we're going back together. I think that'll be the easiest route instead of trying to, like I said, wrestle and bend all these out. But it's going to be close. Like some of these you're going to have to kind of fold over on their sides to get them out of the hole there, but they'll come out. I mean, they went in that way, so they'll definitely come out. But I guess now at this point I'm going to put a couple of these back in, just to maybe one or two, and it doesn't really matter because we're getting rid of this door, but we're going to go ahead and start hammering these pins out. So here's what I've got, guys. I've got a axle strap just through the door. That's why I cracked the window. And basically my cherry picker, it's almost at max lift, and I've got it all the way out. So this is just to steady this because it's a one-man operation right now. And so basically what I'm going to be doing is, and you know what, I forgot to unplug my mirror. I got to unplug my mirror. But I'm going to be knocking those pins out, and then once the door gets loose, hopefully that'll give it enough support. Now it may roll off there, I'm not really sure, which, like I said, we're replacing this door, so it doesn't really matter as much. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a hammer to knock these pins out, and that's all I'm going to concern myself with. Once I get them knocked out, hopefully I can pull it away from the car a little bit, and we can thread all of those wires out that are down below. See if you can wiggle it out now.
Oh, it fell back down.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
That's good then.
So it's loose.
Just come right back out. Okay. Now, can you drag with those T-handles that lift out? Oh, never mind. Oh, that's good, that's good. I'm gonna lift this door. Can you push this thing back further? There you go. That's good. That's perfect. That's all I needed. Thank you. Well, guys, after some work, we got this thing off. I think I just had it tweaked up top where I had it being held on. But now we can go ahead and snake the wires out, and we will drag the door out of the way. So while we've got this apart, I am going to go ahead and replace this roller pin. It's all bent up, and that's part of the reason the door is making all kinds of noise when you open and close it. So I'm going to knock the head of this off with just a chisel, an air chisel, and go ahead and push it out. And then I do have a new one to replace it, obviously, and then the door pins and the bushings. The bushings are completely shot on the bottom. They're not too bad on the top, but the bottom ones are definitely junk. So as you can see, I got that knocked out, and look at the difference. Look at the bend in this one. So this one is a little sturdier. Look at how much bigger the pin is. So we need to drive this thing back up into the top here, and then we need to put a clip. It comes with a little C-clip on top. The factory, as you saw, we had to, well, I didn't actually show you guys, but I did have to knock the head of it off because it's welded or spot welded or like a rivet from the factory. So you do have to take that off, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy in. And then, guys, what I think I'm gonna do is, opposed to trying to get all the stuff out of the door with the door on the ground, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the pins in and push the wires through the door, and then we will make sure all the wiring is going where it needs to go, because I just feel like it's easier with the weight, how heavy these doors are ridiculously heavy. I think it's easier to route all that wiring with the door in place, and then taking all the old stuff out with the door in place as well. I can just kind of sit in a chair and take it out a little at a time. So I'm going to go ahead, get this pin drove in, and then we'll get the new door, or the new to me door, in place, and see if we can get the new pins in the door. And we obviously, you can see the bushings here, we're gonna have to replace those. Just make sure that they go in the same way that they came out. So one's a little bit bigger than the other. I believe the bigger one goes towards the head, and the smaller one goes on the opposite end. But you do need to make sure that you get your old bushings out and use new bushings that come with the new pins. So I went to drive my new one in, and this hole's just a little too small. So I took a file and filed it down a little bit. And the other thing I did is I put these pins, not only this one, the roller pin, but the door hinge pins, I put them in the freezer. So I'm gonna let them set in there for a little bit. While they're in there though, I'm gonna go ahead and take these old bushings out and try to press the new bushings in while we're while we're waiting, essentially. So like I said, just make sure that you're putting the new bushings in the same way you took the old ones out. So luckily my dad came over and helped me get this lined up, and the door panel's dragging because it's loose, but I'll fix that here in a minute. We got to take it off anyway to thread all our wire in. But guys, we are back together. The only thing I haven't done is, it does come with some little keepers to put on top. I don't necessarily think they do anything. And then you do have to have a spring tool. There's other methods, but I'm going to use this spring tool to put the spring back in. And in no means is this supposed to be a tutorial on how to do this. There's several good ones out there, but I'm ready to start taking this door panel apart. I'll put those keepers on, I'll put the spring back in, and we'll take a look at what it looks like all finished up here. While I was putting this back together, I did want to show you guys, it's kind of a neat tool in the fact that I know there's other methods out there people use, zip ties, but you have to still have something to compress the spring. So this is pretty neat that you can just crank this down, and it was only like 10 bucks. I'll list it in the description down below, but just a 13mm ratcheting wrench, crank it down, and then we'll get it into place. Not too bad, kind of a neat tool. And I don't think I'm going to do it today, but I do need to replace the pins in the other one. And I honestly, guys, I think the best way is to pull the door out as far as you can, and to get access to those pins. I just don't think there's any better way. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick this thing in, and then like I said, we'll pull this door panel off. I gotta get the mirror off. We gotta do some outside trim removal, or some trim removal. And then this has that, I'm trying to move the camera, it's gonna be noisy. It's got this Gladiator edition. Sweet wood grain. Look, it's already halfway falling off. So anyway, we'll get all this junk out of the way. I don't think I'm going to put my door panel in. I am going to put my switch back in, making sure everything works. But I'm going to clean up my door panel real good while it's off, and then glue those pieces on the back that are broken. So the last thing we need to do is we need to take the door handle. Well, I say the last thing. We need to take the door handle out. So there's a 10mm here I've already taken out, and then there's an access hole right here. And I do have this loose in case I need it or I drop it down below. But other than that, I'm going to take the door handle off my old one because of the lock, and hook it back up, and then we should be good to screw this back down. I've got everything hooked up. I did test it, everything is working. I did go ahead and put the mirror up there. I'm going to take that mirror off because when I bought this thing, it actually had an extra mirror in the back for the driver's side. I don't know why, and that mirror is like crappily painted white, so it's going to have to come off. Anyway, we'll keep trucking along here. I'm not sure if I'm going to tackle the back door today. I kind of want to, but depends on how much daylight I have left. So holy cow, guys, let's talk about what we had to do to get the door handle out down here. So we had to, first of all, I took the 10mm out. I was able to get the lock rod off just by pulling the handle out a little bit, but the only way to get the actual handle out, because it has a clip to keep it in place, is to take this entire assembly out, unhook all your lock rods that go to your interior handles, drop this with a T30, which is what I use to undo all these. Once I drop this, then this red rod slides out and the door handle is out. But as you can see, I did have to take all my wires back out, and I had to take the regulator out, which is bolted to that, which isn't a big deal. Once you get all those 7mm out around the ledges and you're wiring out, just be very careful, because as you're pulling it out, you thread, you can see all the grease inside this window track. You just thread that out one way and then the other, and it comes right out. So I may need a little help putting it back in by having somebody hold the glass, but the instructions that I've seen online and other people doing this, they say the glass has to be up. If you take the 10mm out first, the glass does not need to be up to do this, but obviously you're going to have to tighten those up, which is not a big deal. Obviously it's way easier to reach with the glass up, the 10mm would be, but then you're you know, you're taking a chance on taping that up there and it falling. So I don't like that. If you have a helper, that does help. But now we can go ahead, grab the one off of that one, and get everything back into place. And I'm not going to show you guys this because it's literally just going back together the same way it came apart. Once we get it back together, though, I may or may not go to the back door. Like I said, it just depends on how much time I have left. But we're gonna keep plugging away here. Like I said, it's way more work than I thought it would be to just change out a door handle. It's not nearly this complicated on the newer stuff, but anyway, let's get the old handle off, which we already have, the new handle in, and we should be set. So for the most part, guys, I'm finished up. I didn't put the door panel back on the inside because it's gonna have to come back off, and there's just no sense in putting it back on. I just couldn't believe how much is involved in like taking the center of this out in order to get that door handle out. It's just crazy to me. But I think at this point I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off, and it's already busted anyway, and I'm not one to use those. And then other than that, I'm gonna take that trim off. But the door lines up pretty good. I need to move the striker a little bit. I think it probably got pushed back when this got hit. Need to move that, but the alignment of the door is pretty spot on, other than it needs a little bit of tweaking right there. But I'm gonna go ahead, blast this off, and clean up this door a little bit. I did go ahead and put my mirror on. Now I'm not sure I'm gonna use these mirrors, but that one does look a lot better than the one was on. Okay guys, we are all finished up. This is all I'm going to do today. I wanted to show you basically our finished product. So like I said, I didn't put the door panel back on because it's gonna have to come back off. And what a nightmare putting that door handle on was. I thought it'd be a little bit easier than what it was. I did go ahead and leave the door panel in here. I do have to glue that piece on. That's the only piece that's broke on this one, so that's good. The other one, obviously, because that wood grain addition, I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, I couldn't use it. It was in decent shape too. Other than that though, I think it came out pretty good. The door jambs all cleaned up really nice. The door pins are, oh man, it's so much nicer. And it shuts good. And I went ahead, as you can see, I got the trim off the side, I got the new mirror on, I got the trim off the top, and I did clean the door up a little bit. It's not as good as what it's gonna be, but to be honest with you guys, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time cleaning on it, and I'm not gonna buff on it at all because it's gonna be painted. So I think it looks good. And ultimately, I wanted to get more accomplished today. Like always, that's the way it goes. We had a little bit of trouble getting the door on. Luckily, my dad was over here and my son. We all pitched in and helped and got it together. I did want to get this off today. The downside, though, is I don't have any pins. So even if I'd have gotten it off, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, I wouldn't have been able to put the new one on. So I set it back in the garage. It needs a good cleanup and scrub down as well. But I think I'll be able to knock these out. I'll tell you, this is the craziest thing on these. They have a bolt, I'll show you here, on the inside, those 4 10mm, so 2 up top and 2 on the bottom. That is not how they come off. You could take those out. I really have no idea what those are for because there's no real adjustment in them. This is welded to the inside behind the quarter, and this is welded on the inside behind the door. So there's no way to take them off other than knocking the pins out, which is kind of ridiculous, but yeah, that's how it goes. But I'm looking forward to doing that. Like I said, I just ran out of time. I don't have the pins, but tell me what you guys think. I think it looks a lot better now. There is some dings in this door, as you can see. I don't know if you guys could catch that in the light when I came by, but it is way better than what the door was, and I think he's going to be happy that he doesn't have to flatten out the door. Now all he has to concern himself with is that. So those spots, like the little dings in the door, those are easy for him. So a lot easier work on him, and it was a really cheap door. Also, I forgot to tell you guys, when I was naming off the parts that I got, I also got this in that $100. So a smoking deal. This is a score, and like I said, I'm going to put this in the comments down below so you guys will know the total cost involved in the build so far. I'm going to keep a running total in the description down below, so go down there and check that out. But if you guys did like this, like always, please smash that thumbs up button, guys. If you're not subscribed, go down, hit that subscribe button, watch this thing come together. While you're down there, subscribe and make sure you ring that little bell icon. That way you're notified every single time we drop a new video. And well, stay tuned to see what we work on or sell next.